So you have a landscape, and you have to really use that that investor list as a tool to drive momentum. My name is Sam Cohen, and I'm the COO and co-founder of Lifted.
Perfect. And tell us a bit about Lifted. What do you do?
Lifted is a tech-enabled care company that provides hourly and living care for people in London or nationwide if you're having live-in. And we have carers that we employ, providing the in-home services. We have clients and their families that we serve, and we unify all of the systems and all the operations with apps. So the clients use apps, the carers use apps, and we manage those apps through our operations.
And how did you come up with this idea? Obviously a very tech-led business, but obviously a very purpose-led mission behind it, I suppose. So how did you come up with the idea, and when did you realize there was a real need for this product?
So it's not my idea per se. I'm a hired co-founder. So my journey into the business is not very conventional. Whereas Rachel, my partner, her journey in is through her personal experience, and fortuitously, by design more, she joined up with a venture builder who were thinking about the space, and then together they fashioned Lifted in its current form. And they needed somebody who had operational experience in scaling sales-led businesses and improving them through tech. And that's when I joined as well to help Rachel. And the fact that it's such an important service to be providing, it makes it a lot more meaningful. But I can't say that I saw a problem in the market and then I built this business on the back of that.
So at what point did you come into the business? How long into the journey?
So they had maybe 10 customers, and they'd had some funding from a corporate partner, and operations team was 4. And so it was very, very small. It was very, very small. And it's been now almost 2 years since I've been there. And we've gone through lots of sort of leaps that allow us to be, really playing in what is a very exciting, innovative space, but it's a difficult space as well.
We talk a lot on these interviews about finding the right co-founders and making sure the team's in place. So from your point of view as a hired co-founder, as you put it, what was that like coming into the business? Of course, you had your own ideas, and how much could you push those compared to wanting to stay true to what the original plan was?
I think if you're competing for the same space, you're going to have a problem. And so what was helpful is that Rachel has very, very different skills to myself and a very different view of how things should work. And I've got my own ideas, my own experience, and they're complementary as opposed to competitive. And so knowing when to allow somebody to lead and when to support, and then vice versa, is helpful to get the right equilibrium. So, yeah.
And I suppose those opposing views on the larger scale are a net positive overall, but there must be times where you don't agree. And you mentioned that you have to have that view of when to lead and when to follow. But have you had times where you just can't agree on something, and how do you settle that within the business?
I mean, look, it's sometimes very challenging. Any co-founder that says it's been plain sailing and perfect with their co-founder is either incredibly lucky or not telling the whole truth. So luckily we can talk our way through it, and learning how to limit the conversations in ways whereby we don't go too far off piste and it doesn't become more of a systemic or non-professional issue, right? So keeping it limited and on topic means that you can use your reason and experience to move through it. And luckily we haven't had to have any sort of impasses where, I'm saying I'm entrenched in this position and Rachel's entrenched in that position and we can't move forward. So having quality dialogue and limiting the problem that you're talking about is helpful.
Absolutely. And you've obviously had quite a big couple of years. So you mentioned you came in, relatively small team, a handful of customers, and now you're serving nationwide. So what were the big leaps there and jumps, and what have the sort of the growing pains been there, if you like?
So just to qualify, we have had those leaps, but the living service we provide is nationwide. And so we've grown significantly in our customer base, but we are not providing hourly care in cities across the world, so across the country. So just want to be clear on that. But the leaps that we've had have come through funding and going to market and being successful and understanding how the market views the quality of the business and your blind spots and the issues. Other leaps have been in standing up departments and bringing certain things in-house. So having our own in-house tech team and developing the proposition in line with our vision has been very exciting. And for me as the COO, bringing in people that can industrialize their own departments, whether it be recruitment or training or operations or care quality, and seeing those people flourish and grow and automate what they're doing and report on it and just drive value into it. Those have been leaps as well, because it frees us up as a management team or a leadership team to go and focus on the gnarlier, stickier strategic issues or funding related issues. So watching the team grow around us, taking responsibility, and then providing the funding to power that growth is some of the big leaps we've had.
And what have your experiences been of the funding process?
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I mean, within 1 hour, you could be on top of the world thinking you've got millions of pounds in the bank, and the same hour, people sort of, strip you naked and sort of ridicule the quality of your business, and you feel like this is all for nothing and you're going to fail. So the highs are extreme, the lows are extreme. I think everybody says that, right? So that's nothing new. But I think it's hard. It's really grueling. Like, it's not fun. The highs are amazing, but it's attritional and it's grinding and 4 meetings a day, traipsing through London in the rain, on public transport. I mean, now things are different and it may be easier. But when we did it for Seed, it's just, it takes over. But it's worthwhile, right? The price that you pay is high, but the reward is high, because then you get the ability to build your dream and bring loads of people on this journey whereby you're making a positive impact in the world. So like, it's worth it, but it doesn't come easy unless you're super, super smart with an incredible idea and everybody loves it, right? Then it's a different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big part of it as well is qualifying the investors you're speaking with. So what was your tactic? Was it to go out to anyone and everyone that would listen at first, or did you really qualify them and have a bit of a strategic process behind it?
I mean, there's lots of generalist funds. There's lots of seed funds. There's lots of funds that have made health tech investments in the past. There's also funds that have invested in direct competitors who will be conflicted. And so you then have like a list of all the different targets and you try and prioritize them. So, your big sort of value add strategic VCs, you tier them. You've got your big family offices, you've got your strategic angels, your EIS fund, your SEIS funds if you're small enough. So you have a landscape and you have to really use that investor list as a tool to drive momentum. Because if you just let it be sort of random and a non sort of governed process that happens haphazardly, it won't work in my view. So having a really well structured document where it's prioritized and you update it and you live and you breathe it, and having other people calling you to account. So we were lucky that we had people that were helping us and calling us to account and making us making us give updates and really sort of explain where we are, what's going on, where we should push, where we should sort of pull back, because you need to create momentum in this process, and the investor community feels it. If you let it just sort of wash over you too easily, then you sort of just, all that quality momentum dissipates and you feel less urgency within yourself. The market feels it and you have less chance of succeeding.
And what did the investment make possible in the business? What did you then go on to do immediately afterwards?
Hire a tech team and bring all the tech development in-house, which was very exciting. Bring in professionals and experienced people into key areas in the business. And to add depth, it also allowed us to have more money to spend on marketing. And yeah, we went from 8 people to 16 pretty quickly. We're at 20 now. And we're sort of on the cusp of raising Series A. And so then we'll see another leap whereby we can add to the tech team, add to the product team, and really grow out some of the departments that need strengthening.
Absolutely. And how's that affected your role as one of the co-founders in the business? How's that evolved?
Well, Rachel is tremendous at fundraising, so she's really been taking the lead at that, which means that I've got more space and more room to think about industrializing the business, spend time with the team and bringing in solutions that will help us scale effectively. It means that I can think more about the structure and the health of the structure and how we can bring in the right heads in the right teams to sort of free Rachel up a bit more, to free myself up more. So it gives you the ability to dream a bit more, right? The sprint between seed and Series A is so intense, and there's so many people that you don't have in the business, and there's so many hats that everybody's wearing, that it's very difficult to get that critical distance and step back, and especially during the pandemic. Whereas now, we feel like we've got the ability to dare to dream again and to think about, okay, right, these are the biggest gaps. These are how we're going to fill them. This is what we're going to build. This is what we're going to buy. And yeah, we need to get that into cohesive strategy, but it's starting, it's coming together.
Yeah. So a real difference then in what was needed to prep for seed versus what was needed to prep for Series A.
Oh, in terms of the prep to go to market, like in seed, you don't really have a lot of traction. So the people have to believe in the team, the idea. There's a lot of pattern recognition and what succeeded before. But in Series A, right, it's been a year to show what we've done. And people then take your original seed deck, your Series A deck, and said, you've done this, you overperformed here, you've underperformed here. And they take a view. And so prepping for Series A is easier in some way because you have evidence and confidence to stand behind the achievements that you've made and the journey that you've been on. So I think that gave us a lot of confidence. But still, like some of the issues that you faced at seed have not been completely solved by Series A. And so you still have some doubts about things, but doubting is intrinsic to human, psyche, and that's never going to go away until the point where you've really nailed it, and then you just sort of double down and just refine and refine and refine.
And although you're talking to largely a different audience of investors at Series A, how important is it to really make sure you're taking care of your stakeholder management from those in the seed round to get as many of those back in Series A where possible? It's
important. Like, I'm not sure if I'd say it's critical, because lots of people have their own mandates, right? And so if you spoke to a seed fund that you got on really well with, but they're strictly a seed fund, even if they liked you a lot and you've done great at Series A, then they can't really extend their mandate. So, but having said that, lots of people invest across the stages, and also they have networks themselves, right? So building that relationship over the journey is really important. And there was a few people that I was really impressed by during seed and really wanted to build a relationship with, which I have, even though that I knew that they couldn't invest at Series A, right? So I think pick some people that you want to cultivate that could invest in Series A, but also you're going to meet some amazing, really interesting quality individuals. And so if you have the time and space to build a dialogue with them for your own well-being, and also hopefully to give back to them if you can in time or in the moment, that's worthwhile as well.
And you must have had a fairly intensive last year with the pandemic. So what's life been like?
The first 3 months, the first month, I mean, it was just frenetic, like moving the business fully online. I had like a PPE distribution center going on in my flat. I was going to the post office every day. I was trying to secure with the team quantities of PPE. I was driving to hospitals to secure more. And that was just on the physical distribution side, getting everybody online, attending meetings, comfortable with being able to manage an in-home service, and getting the carers comfortable to still take public transport every single day, get on top of the guidelines, make sure we had everything we needed. It was so intense. And we operated every day of the pandemic, and our clients are vulnerable, and please God, touch wood, nobody's had an issue so far. But yeah, it was pretty real, pretty white knuckle. After about 3, 4, 5 months, we were like, okay, we can do this, right? You didn't feel like you were in crisis mode. You felt like you could take it down one notch, and you've got a new operating model. And now we've been fully remote for a year. And so people adapted really well. The team were incredible. Rachel provided great leadership. I did my best to sort of make sure the nuts and bolts were working as well. And we grew almost every month during last year. And it's just testament to the fact that people really gave it to adapt and to be on top of their game and communicate and, provide a quality service and not use the pandemic as an excuse for anything to slip. If anything, we increased our standards during the pandemic. So that was good. That was a real galvanizing event for Lifted to have gone through. And I think will make us stronger in the coming years.
And are there certain key changes that you made due to COVID that actually you've decided works better, maybe working remote or something similar, that you won't go back to now when life supposedly returns to normal?
It's a good question. I mean, I don't think there's any sort of like cast iron rules we now have. I think that it's pretty clear that people want to be in the office for some of their working week. It's pretty clear that forcing everybody to go 5 days is not the right way to go. In terms of operational efficiencies, like things that we thought had to be done in person, we've learned can be done remotely and well. So some of those practices we won't return to. And what else can I think of? I don't know. You do lose a bit of culture. You do lose a bit of culture on a Zoom call. I've not used Hopin, which I've heard is meant to be great, but in terms of breakout rooms, on a call, they're always being shared. So if you ask, how's everyone doing? Everyone can't say that how they're doing because everybody just talks, right? Whereas you're in a room, you can get a feel for how everybody is. And you have these creative, random moments between colleagues where a dev is talking to the head of care quality, right? About something random. You start building bonds, and that we don't have. And we want that back. And that, I think, comes from some type of physical interaction. And whether it's fixed days for being in the office or 2 or 3 updates a month or whatever it is, like it is necessary.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had some incredible growth and obviously handled the last year pretty well. So what's next for the business? What's the next sort of 12 months looking like for you?
Secure the money, build out the team, and really start focusing on delivering the digital care experience and really moving into that white space whereby we can really transform the industry. So it's going to be a transformative period, and we learned the nuts and bolts of the business. We all know it now, back to front. We had to bring lots of people out of industry, in industry. So now it's execution phase, which is exciting. So it's executing on the product, and it's also growth. Doubling down on the channels that are working, investing in new channels, and really making the business scalable, sustainable, and hopefully profitable, so that we don't need to continuously be dependent on raising more and more VC or institutional money.
Yeah, it sounds like an exciting time. So for those watching, where can they find out more about Lifted and yourselves?
So Lifted Care, liftedcare.com, go to our website and check us out. You can see us on the socials. And if anybody that needs care, please do get in touch. We'd be more than happy to help, or just advise if that's what's needed. We can't serve everybody, so we're more than happy to advise.